The top stories for the hour. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says leadership excellence and Mendeber principles are key to Ethiopia's prosperity. And scholars back Ethiopia's right to sea access. Hello and very warm welcome to EBC World. It's the voice of Pan-Africanism with the news. I'm Biniam Getana. Stick around now, the news in forum. President of the ruling Prosperity Party has underscored that commitment, creativity, speed and quality in leadership are essential to achieving Ethiopia's vision of national prosperity. The President, Abiy Ahmed, made the remark during the closing ceremony of an 11-day leadership training program held under the theme Sectors Leap Forward through the Vision of the Meddemer State. The program brought together senior officials from federal, regional and zonal and city administrations to strengthen their strategic leadership capacity. In his keynote address, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed outlined the guiding principle of the Meddemer State, calling on party leaders to act decisively, innovatively and efficiently in delivering on the country's development priorities and meeting the needs of its citizens. The training delved into the concept, objectives and implementation strategies of the Meddemer State, underscoring that senior officials must champion creativity, collaboration and urgency in advancing Ethiopia's transformation agenda. Prime Minister also identified key national initiatives requiring strong leadership focus and follow-through, including the FIDA National ID Program, the 5 Million Ethiopian Corridor Initiative, urban and rural corridor development, the Dine for Generation projects, the 7th national election and ongoing civil service reforms. He urged the participants to approach these programs with total commitment and accountability, stressing that success in each area must be pursued with the goal of achieving nothing less than 100% results. Meanwhile, Ethiopian Ministry of Health has launched a mobile application called Tenenet to facilitate access to medicine and health services. President Haile Selassie, who attended the launch of the app, said in a message that efforts have been put in place to increase access to health services. He further has reiterated that the government is working its level best not only to prevent the disease but also to treat it, and results are being registered with this regard. Minister of Health Dr. Mekdes Daba, for her part, said that the application launched is of high quality and is patient-oriented, adding that advancing technology is crucial to making the health sector accessible and efficient. She further has highlighted that the ministry is working on various strategies to improve the health services of citizens. And the ministry is monitoring to maintain the health status of the country by focusing on prevention and treatment in the new health policy that is recently introduced. As the news continues, a leading Ethiopian scholar, Alemayehu Gebre Mariam, has argued that the country's landlocked status is not the result of legitimate historical circumstances, but rather, in his words, of criminal negligence. He noted that Ethiopia is now working to secure access to the sea through peaceful negotiations. Supporting that position, Ambassador Tibor Nagy, a veteran U.S. diplomat and former ambassador to Ethiopia, also said that Ethiopia deserves guaranteed access to the sea. Yerusalem Besa takes us through this.
Ethiopia struggled to reclaim the coastline lost over 30 years ago. Many scholars also arguing that Ethiopia's claim to sea access is a matter of protecting national interests that's legally and historically accepted. On EBC World's weekly program, at this dialogue, political science and international relations scholar Alemayehu Gebre Mariam stated that Ethiopia became landlocked not for legitimate reasons, but rather as a result of what he described as criminal negligence.
Ethiopia has been landlocked for perhaps many reasons. One of them has to do with the negligence, criminal negligence of the former Wayane regime, which for some inexplicable reason allowed the port of Assab to be absorbed into the secessionist Eritrean state. I have my own theories about that, mostly because I believe that regime did not really consider at heart the long-term interests, the historical interests, and the future destiny of the country, because a country that's landlocked, a country that does not have an outlet to the sea, is at a great disadvantage economically, politically, strategically, any number of additional ways.
However, he emphasized that Ethiopians and the Ethiopian government is now determined to secure access to the sea through peaceful negotiation and mutual understanding.
Ethiopia's fundamental position, and so far has not changed, is that Ethiopia's access to the sea can be achieved through peaceful dialogue and negotiations, perhaps through international mediation, through involvement of multilateral organizations, through economic ties, through perhaps even through the African Free Trade Agreement and so on. So there are various mechanisms.
In a similar vein, Ambassador Tibor Nagy, a long-serving United States diplomat and former U.S. ambassador to Ethiopia, also remarked that Ethiopia should have guaranteed rights to access the sea, highlighting the importance of regional cooperation and diplomacy in addressing this long-standing issue.
So issue number one, Ethiopia, we know, is the world's largest landlocked country. Issue number two, for a country of 140 million people that is trying to industrialize and depends on exports, access to the sea is absolutely essential. Unfortunately, a lot of analysts have said, oh my gosh, Ethiopia wanting to pursue using Eritrea ports means that that there's a possibility of reigniting conflict in the Horn of Africa, which I know everybody understands that it is in nobody's interest to have a renewed conflict in the Horn of Africa. So, you can access the ports through treaties, which exists in a number of parts of the world where countries that are landlocked access ports that are not. Obviously, the country of the port would maintain sovereignty, but Ethiopia would have guaranteed rights of access to the port, of using its own customs, and that's there are a number of potential ports. There are a number of ways of doing that without reverting to any kind of hostilities. But the bottom line is that Ethiopia needs to have a guaranteed access to the sea.
Both the scholars underline that dialogue and peaceful engagement remain the most viable paths for Ethiopia to ensure its national interests and foster regional stability.
And finally, the African Union Commission is calling for bold and proactive measures to address the root cause of migration and displacement across the continent. The Commission is convening the 5th ordinary session of its Specialized Technical Committee on Migration, Refugees and IDPs, bringing together experts from AU member states and global humanitarian partners. The high-level meeting aims to review, validate and endorse key legal and policy frameworks designed to strengthen Africa's coordinated response to migration and displacement challenges. Our staff reporter, Shagoy Matao, has more on this.
The Specialized Technical Committee on Migration, Refugees and Internally Displaced Persons, one key policy organ of the African Union, commenced its 5th regular session at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa today under the theme Reimagining Migration and Pivoting Humanitarian Architecture. The committee convened to address the continent's most pressing humanitarian and mobility issues. In his remarks, Director of Health and Humanitarian Affairs at the African Union Commission, Giulio Rakotonorina, lauded the role of the Specialized Technical Committee in tackling refugees and migration issues. He also pushes for lasting remedy to migration and displacement challenges in unison with concerned stakeholders.
This 5th session must be considered as motor for the continent to search for sustainable solutions to the various migration and displacement challenges. This session should also be a point for a shared distribution of commitments and responsibilities among member states in order to promote a collective, coherent and humane response to these complex crises.
The outgoing chairman of the Specialized Technical Committee and Deputy Director General of Zambia Immigration, Enos Chibome, for his part highlighted progress in his chairmanship tenure, but still needs practical implementation of strategies by member countries that truly transform the lives of Africans.
Our discussions here are not merely technical. They are deeply human. The decisions we make will directly impact on the lives of millions. Let us ensure that our recommendations are bold, practical, and truly transformative.
The experts' meeting being held from October 10 to 12 and the ministers' meeting to take place from November 13 to 14 aims to strengthen coordination between African Union member countries and humanitarian actors and civil society organizations.
And now a recap of the top stories once again. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says leadership, excellence and Mandela principles are key to Ethiopia's prosperity. And scholars back Ethiopia's right to sea access. You've been watching EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism. I've been Binyam Getana. Thank you for your company. Enjoy the rest of the program and updates. Goodbye.